Okay, we're doing this. Hi there. Welcome back. Once again, it is time for the 31 Days of Halloween, which we're doing a different Halloween. We're doing a different horror movie every day in October, leading up to the end of October. And Halloween, which I will reveal one of my favorite all-time Halloween movies, which is culturally appropriate to me as well, kinda. And yeah, I just want to make sure that this thing's. I play it at a higher speed to avoid a copyright strike. It's a trick I learned from Critical Drinker, and so this is 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola. Indeed, this was a big movie, and it was going to be like a big Christmas time or holiday movie. It was released on November 13th, 1992. I remember this because my birthday was like the week after, and we saw it on opening night. I think I might have seen this on Christmas night too. Me and one of my high school friends. We had nothing else to do, so we went to the movies, and we saw Dracula, and it was pretty disappointing. It's a 128-minute runtime, which is the longest of the Dracula movies that we're profiling in this series. It is very well cast. It's very well done. And well, I'll read from the wiki, okay? Bram Stoker's Dracula is a 1992 American Gothic horror film directed and produced by Francis Ford Coppola, based on the 1897 novel Dracula by Bram Stoker. It stars Gary Oldman as Count Dracula, Winona Ryder as Mina Harker, Anthony Hopkins as Professor Abraham Van Helsing, and Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, and when it won 3 for Best Costume Design, Best Sound Editing, and Best Makeup. And its score was composed by Wojciech Kilar, and its closing credits theme, Love Song for a Vampire, was written and performed by the one and only Annie Lennox. It became an international success. It's a huge movie for its day. $40 million budget. And that was huge in 1991. You know, so, but this starts off with Vlad the Impaler. We saw that the red armor that looked like musculature. We saw Gary Oldman as a young man. And so this is the literal Vlad the Impaler, the historical basis of Dracula. Who was Vlad the Impaler? Real quick. He was the prince of Wallachia. Wallachia will eventually become Romania. So that this geography is like Romania and Hungary and that part of the world. And he fought the Ottoman Empire, and he was a real ruler. And yeah, ultimately he died in a conflict against the Moors, and apparently he might have been dressed up as a Moorish soldier, which was part of his his tactic. He would go in it, go and get information, it's a good warrior does. And he was mistaken by a few of his soldiers and killed. But I kind of think it was an inside job to finally get rid of him, Yeah, so there was a real historical Dracula, and this movie is just it's really, really well done. Why don't I like it? It's boring. It's got pacing problems. It goes on a bit. There are just unnecessary story beats, perhaps. Maybe it's just, but it's wonderful to look at. It has a great cast. I mean, the cast, they keep a lot of, in my humble opinion, it's probably the most accurate to Bram Stoker's novel. So if all the 5 Dracula movies we're doing this week, in the start of Vampire movie week series. It's a little bit more than a week, but this has to be the most faithful adaptation. It has its divergences. It really does. Yet it keeps a lot of what is in the book. The three vampire brides, Harker escaping, Mina going to Harker and bringing him back as a married couple. It keeps all four of Lucy's suitors, or it has Quincy Morris, Lord Arthur Holmwood, who is Lucy's fiance, and Dr. Jack Seward, and then there's Jonathan Harker himself as well. So and then there's Mina and Van Helsing. So that's your us against Dracula party. So it keeps all of those characters, and Quincy meets his fate as he does, but at the end of this, and it's got a great Renfield, by the way. Renfield's played by the musician Tom Waits, and this is probably the best part of the movie, is his portrayal of the thrall Renfield. And Anthony Hopkins plays Van Helsing. They're so well cast. You got Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker. You got Winona Ryder as Mina Harker, or Elisabetta. Who is this? Okay, remember yesterday we covered Dan Curtis's 1974 Dracula with Jack Palance, wherein Jack Palance's Dracula, his count, sees a picture of Lucy, and he has a flashback to his first wife, and believes that Lucy was the reincarnation of his first wife. So in this movie, they take a spin on that Count Dracula sees Mina Harker, and is convinced that she is Elisabetta, the love of his life. Vlad the Impaler was coming back to his castle, and it was misreported on purpose to his beautiful young wife that he had died in battle. So she took her own life. She fell. She jumped from the window. So he comes home to a broken house and a broken heart, and he defies God, and he denounces God in the chapel, and that's part of the how he became Dracula is the cross started bleeding. Coppola was very Catholic. If you've seen any of his movies, especially Godfather, you see how religious he is, and he transmits this freely in the body of his work. But the end of this has Mina herself here. She's the one that kills Dracula, and she puts the stake in his heart. They have this moment together where it's like, she's like, my love, freebie, please, which she does, and she stakes him and cuts off his head, and that's where the movie ends. So it ends rather flatly and abruptly, but like I said, it does keep a lot of the characters and story beats of the original Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. So congratulations to that. That was pleasing, and it's a beautiful movie. This is just, the special effects in this, the story of that is amazing in itself. It's just a lot of practical photography, camera tricks, and this is all practical effects. And there's very little. I don't think there's any computer effects in this. I'm not sure. Yeah, and the critical reaction was it was okay. I mean, just like I said, it won 3 Oscars, but the casting, they had these great actors. They had a really great cast. I mean, even they had Cary Elwes as Lord Arthur. They had Billy Campbell as Quincy Morris, and like I said, Tom Waits as Renfield. That was awesome, and it's a Coppola film, so it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't hate this movie. It's just probably my least favorite of these Dracula movies. It's not really rewatchable. I feel that, but because it's cumbersome. It plods. This movie really suffers from pacing, and it's maybe it's too big. It's largesse. It's meant to be like a huge offering from an auteur, and what happens is that with this great cast, I mean, nobody really nails their roles, with the exception of Cary Elwes and Billy Campbell, and Tom Waits, but they're not the main characters. I mean, Anthony Hopkins comes close as Professor Abraham Van Helsing, but Gary Oldman, well, he was a big actor in '92. I mean, he was top notch, man, and but he was known for playing Gary Oldman, just himself, whether it was Leon the Professional, or even something like The Fifth Element. I mean, there's a certain, or even he played Dr. Smith in the Lost in Space movie of the '90s. That was pretty okay. I mean, that you know what you're getting into when you hire Gary Oldman, and plus he was this mad Irishman, so he had this dynamic approach to how he approached roles. And Winona Ryder, great actress. She was really big at the time, barely 30, beautiful young woman, striking. And Keanu Reeves, he got a lot of crap for his bad British accent. You just can't get over it. It sounds like Neo ordering high tea, something like that, if you can imagine. But yeah, overall, this movie is pretty good. It's great eye candy. It is not a terrible movie. It is just, in my humble opinion, not my favorite. And yeah, like I said, we are watching movies from my DVD collection and my Blu-ray collection. Yeah, and I'm doing this the post Geek Singularity way, and I appreciate physical media as Robert Meyer Burnett himself has fostered in me over the past couple of years. He reminded me of the importance of physical media. So yeah, I got a big stack of movies for this great 31 days of Halloween, and today has been the 12th day of Halloween. And yeah, so happy October 12th. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. Leave me a comment. Continue this conversation. Give me suggestions for next year. Have you seen Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992 by Francis Ford Coppola? And what do you think? How do you feel? And yeah, this is the movie. Yeah, that's the end. It ends flatly. Oh gosh, no denouement. Maybe that's it. I don't know. It just but like I said, big movie, big time, big Hollywood, and all the rest of these movies were not big Hollywood, with maybe the exception of 1931's Universal's Bela Lugosi Dracula, but that was, Hollywood was just becoming Hollywood back then. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. We'll see you again tomorrow, okay? Excuse me. Tune in. Tomorrow's movie on the 13th day of Halloween will be 1958's The Horror of Dracula, starring Christopher Lee as Count Dracula and Peter Cushing as Van Helsing. Not Abraham Van Helsing. We'll get to that. And Divergence. But it is the Bram Stoker Dracula story retold again, and it's got a lot of divergence from the source material. It's probably the least like Bram Stoker's Dracula, yet it's one of my favorites. It's got to be the two actors, and we're going to talk about Hammer movies as well, because this is going to start a 5-movie series within a series within a series. We're going to do 5 Hammer Christopher Lee horror movies, and it's really fun. And Peter Cushing's in 3 of them, and I love these Hammer movies. I can't wait to tell you all about them, turn you on to these movies, perhaps if you haven't seen them yet. Thank you so very much. We'll see you again tomorrow, okay? Bye-bye. Don't be scared, Pika. It's just me.